What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Tuesday. The Blazers, Eric, they just had a phenomenal last fourth quarter to this game. This was something to behold. The Blazers, after leading 90-72, Eric, lose 98-94. The Thunder go on a 26-4 run to end the game. It was a Jalen Horde masterclass. It was a Georgios Kalitzakis masterclass. He had a lot of turnover, but he had some good moments. My guy Georgios, Isaiah Roby, the Blazers killer, or your favorite non-Blazer, went off in bits today. It was a good result to this game. We'll look at the Tankathon as we always do. It'll be a little shorter stream. I'm just in awe because there was a point where I was like, yeah, the Blazers are going to win this game. There's no doubt about it. We're going to have to go into this post-game show talking about how the Blazers are only one win ahead of the Kings and hoping the Kings can beat the Pelicans tonight. But, wow, that was this is one of the most impressive tank jobs I've ever seen from any team, and I'm happy that it's the Blazers after what they did at the trade deadline. You're talking about a team that's lost, 20 of 22 games?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Dude, I'm losing track. It's just L's across the board. 8 losses in a row. Masterful tank job. Eric, what are your thoughts on this game, man?
Well, I do feel kind of bad for the players themselves because they played really well, actually, for the first, 3 quarters of this game. But, man, if you would have told me going into the season that the Thunder would be still one of the worst teams in the league, so they didn't, surprise anyone, but we'd go 0-4 against them, That's just insane levels of tanking. So, congrats to the Blazers, man. With that 4-game winning streak, man, they needed to find a way to lose several times to the Thunder, and they somehow pulled it off. It did not look probable when we were up 18, but they found a way to do it, and just kudos to them for pulling it out.
It's just amazing because I was worried about this stretch, Eric, this stretch of games, and the Blazers have lost 9 out of their last 10 games. All games that came against teams that aren't looked at as playoff teams. You're talking about losing to Indiana. In the last 10 games, they've lost to Indiana. They've lost to San Antonio 3 times. They've lost to Houston twice. They've lost to OKC twice. And they lost to New Orleans. This isn't just coming against, some decent teams that you would expect to lose to pretty handily. They're coming against teams that are trying to do the same exact thing as the Portland Trail Blazers. OKC came into this game trying to tank this game. There was absolutely no doubt about it. They started Georgios Kalitzakis, who's a legend. They weren't trying to tank with him. I could never speak ill on my guy Georgios, but they just signed him today on a 10-day hardship and immediately start him. They sign Xavier Simpson, a guy I had never heard of, a 6-foot guard who likes to shoot hook shots. Okay, they signed him and started him today. Both those guys played over 40 minutes. So this was a game in which the Thunder were trying to tank. This was a game in which Keon Johnson had a good game. Drew Eubanks had a good game. Greg Brown had a good game. And the Blazers still managed to lose it. It was extremely impressive, man. This is the most impressive loss I've maybe ever seen for the Portland Trail Blazers.
Well, on top of that, so the Thunder had 10 guys active for this game. And they didn't play their best 3 players that were active: Poku, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, and Aaron Wiggins. I don't think none of those guys played, right? So it was even more impressive considering that they purposely tried to lose this game, even though I think Maladon was supposed to be active too.
Yeah,
didn't play any of those guys, but they play 7 guys and still beat us. Man, just crazy. And Lindy Waters comes in and scores 8 points in 4 minutes and then doesn't get back in the game again. They're like, screw this, we can't have this guy ruining our tank job, but we still find a way to lose this game. Just incredible, man.
It's something when Lindy Waters, the third, he has to be rested for the majority of the game because he's too good to be participating in this game. That's saying something. Former Blazer Jalen Horde, 46 out of 48 minutes He played 46 minutes tonight, 24 points, 21 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. He was 11 for 17 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. And then you got Khalid Zaki, 6 for 13 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. He had 3 steals to go along with his 17 points. Did have 7 turnovers, but other than that, like even he had a solid game. Xavier Simpson, 10 points, 5 assists. He played 44 minutes, so it's just a wild box score to look at here.
Blazers legend Jalen Horde.
Yep, and this is as positive of a tanking game as you could get. We're pretty much at the point where we have enough of a cushion where we could root for the Blazers to beat the Pelicans, and there's a chance that the Pelicans might not have home court advantage in the 9-10 playing game. It looks like it's going to be San Antonio in this game. They're currently up 7 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter against Denver. It looks like the Lakers, have completed the choke. They're playing the Suns, should be tipping off right about now. They're without LeBron. The Suns are double-digit favorites, so you're looking at a Spurs-Pelicans playing game. The Spurs, if they win this game, the Pelicans are also playing right now. They're playing the Kings. They're up 2 at the end of 1. So if the Spurs win this game and the Pelicans lose, you're talking about both these teams being tied. The Blazers' next opponent is the New Orleans Pelicans. With that 2-win cushion, it could be a situation where I'm going into next game rooting for the Blazers to win. Now, it's probably not going to mean anything because they're probably going to get blown out, but it's nice to have that cushion going into that next game against the Pels. That won't be a game that I'm mad about winning whatsoever.
So Marcus in chat is saying that my mic is really quiet compared to yours. I don't know.
Is it really quiet? Yeah, the audio has been a little, the audio levels have been a little weird. This should be better. I'll just turn up your mic a little bit. There we go.
StatMuse, and your favorite people, tweeted out that Jalen Horde is the first rookie since Shaq with a 2023 on 60% shooting as a rookie since Shaq. Don't. Just ignore the fact that he's in his third NBA season.
Yeah. He's a guy who rebounds well. He had a stat line last week where I saw him with 16 rebounds in, I think, 18, 19 minutes. So, Jalen Horde could definitely rebound the ball, but he scored the ball well today. But looking at the... Go ahead.
It's not baseball rules where you can play a certain amount of games and still be eligible for Rookie of the Year the next year, right?
Yeah, it should be that way, to be honest, but it is not. Julius Randle, remember, he got injured out for the season in his first game as a Laker, and he wasn't eligible for Rookie of the Year the following year, so you have to go the Ben Simmons route and completely miss the first season in order to be eligible for Rookie of the Year. So, but this is a positive game because you have some positive moments from some Blazers players that actually matter. I don't really count on anybody in this lineup that played today potentially being contributors to winning Blazer teams in the future outside of Greg Brown and Keon Johnson. Everybody else, maybe Drew Eubanks, but he shouldn't be in the rotation next year unless something goes pretty wrong. I'm fine with him as a third-string center, but third-string players don't play. So you're looking at pretty much 2 guys who are the young project rookies. Obviously, Watford's out. So you're looking at it's Greg Brown and Keon Johnson are really the only 2 guys whose performances I really care about, and both of them had good performances today. Keon Johnson, 18 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. I don't know if you want to say flirted with a triple-double, but it got close. If he hunted it, maybe he could have gotten it. And what better place to hunt triple-doubles than in OKC, if you know what I mean. So he was 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. So he shot the ball well lately. On the other hand, Greg Brown, 17 points, 3 rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block. 6 for 9 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3. He continues to be insanely efficient with goggles on, so I think the goggles should be here to stay. So both those guys played very, very well. Both of them had positive plus-minuses. Greg Brown in 24 minutes was a plus 10. So to lose this game, especially after it looked like we were going to win this game, to lose this game and have both those guys play well is pretty much the best-case scenario, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just under 5 minutes left, and they put Eubanks, Dunn, McLemore back in the game. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh no, here we go. And fortunately they didn't get it done. But yeah, my mom was in chat saying that this is going to suck for them to develop this losing culture or whatever, paraphrasing. But like what you said, I don't think it really matters because next year it's not like Nurkic and Dame and Ants and our draft picks and stuff will be influenced on what happened these last few games. And if anything, it helps us with our draft positioning, so we should get a better player out of it, which helps win as well. So talent wins in this league, and you have to have good coaching and all that stuff. So if this helps us get more talent, I don't think it'll really be negative that we had a bunch of players that probably won't be on the team next year, ending up losing a bunch of games. But I do feel bad for them still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad for them because they're making millions of dollars to play basketball.
Yeah. But...
you know what I mean? Like, I would gladly get destroyed by professional athletes to be in that position.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're out there, they're living their dream, you know. I'm sure it'd be nice for them to win games. It'd be more enjoyable for them to win games, but I don't know. I have a hard time feeling sorry for them. You know, they're kind of going into each game knowing that it's probably a situation where they're outmatched even against some bad teams. So, you know, that feeling probably isn't the best, but yeah,
the Thunder though.
Chris Brandlin, yes, like pretty much everybody on this roster is making $1 million a year, or $100,000 in the course of a month. So I would gladly take that. You know what I mean? So I have a hard time feeling bad for them. Maybe that is insensitive to some people, but these guys are out there playing basketball and getting paid to do so, you know. So hopefully this, and here's the thing, most of these guys wouldn't get an opportunity either, right? Like you're talking about let me look at this. Drew Eubanks playing 35 minutes. Biggest opportunity he's ever gotten, and he's played decently. Biggest, most consistent opportunity he's ever gotten for the past month and a half or so. Greg Brown playing 24 minutes as a rookie. Keon Johnson playing 36 minutes. He's getting a chance to show what he can do, and he's strung together multiple good games in a row. CJ Ellaby plays 27 minutes. He doesn't deserve 27 minutes. He hasn't earned 27 minutes, but he's still got 27 minutes of playing time today. Chris Dunn has been out of the league all year. He got to start. He got to play 30 minutes today. You got Keldon Blevins got 19 minutes today. So you're talking about guys that normally wouldn't get this sort of opportunity that are getting it right now. You know, Chris Dunn's been around the block a couple times, but you're talking about players that are getting more of an opportunity due to it. Yes, that comes with losing most of these games, but overall, I think this team has had a pretty good mindset about it, seemingly has stayed upbeat despite losing, and it just seems like these guys, I think Chauncey has coached this team well, keeping them focused on just developing their games on the bigger picture. You know, yeah, you want to go in and win games, you want to do the right things on the basketball court, but the bigger picture for these guys is they want to make a spot in the league. They want to, you know, be in the NBA 5 years from now, and they're getting that opportunity to learn things that can help them do that, and they're getting an opportunity to showcase that as well. So I think this is a good opportunity for a lot of guys, and it's a good opportunity for the organization to lose some games. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
So anything you wanted to say about Keon or Greg Brown, though?
Keon's playing good. Still, I mean, this goes back to me, like, Ish asked you earlier if his shooting has impressed you or anything lately. So I'll answer that real quick.
3 for 7 is nice, you know. I mean, his form's solid. I want to see him consistently shoot the ball well. You know, that's the thing is a lot of these guys that take threes are good enough to have stretches where they make them. Even, you know, Greg Brown had a night where he's 4 for 5. So you're looking at, in today's day and age, almost every player coming into the league can shoot the ball at least a little bit. And if they can't, it's because they're a 7-footer. So it's a flash. You know what I mean? It's a flash. And it's nice to see that flash, absolutely. I'm not going to put too much stock in it. I'm hopeful that he can, become more consistent and make the flashes that he's shown, especially lately, of being able to knock down shots. I'm hoping that he can turn that into consistency over the next couple years, because that'll really open up his game.
Yeah. See, to me, those kind of questions, it's never been a case of like Tori and I not believing in Keon. it's always been one, at the time of the trade, he did not have first round pick value. And two, even if he did develop these things and shows he's a capable rotation player, where does he get minutes on a full roster moving forward? So those are always the things with Keon. It was never anything personal, no matter how much people tried to say it was with us. It was never a doubting of Keon's ability or anything like that. It's just you can tell he's a smallish guard out on the floor, and he doesn't necessarily have point guard skills, so he can't play point. So he's basically just a shooting guard. I don't think he's big enough to guard small forwards and power forwards. And so that's kind of limited to what we can do with him. And so that's always been the problem, no matter how much he shows. And I'm glad he's showing something, because at the very least, maybe you have some teams inquiring about him either this summer or next year when he's not getting any playing time and he's wasting away on our bench.
Yep. Agree. That's the thing, is we'll provide all that context, and a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but we'll always have people that will argue that'll just misinterpret the context we try and provide with our arguments. And that always gets a little bit frustrating. Maybe they're not listening to us. Maybe it's just, we're not doing a good enough job explaining things. I don't know. But, we always try and provide a bunch of context with every single argument we make. And that's the proper context behind what we were saying about Keon Johnson. So, hopefully he gets a chance, but it's just, we have our 3-guard lineup penciled in next year. I don't see where he's going to get the minutes to develop if we're trying to be a contending team and we're absolutely set in terms of guards. I don't know where you play him.
So DJ Vega says Keon's value was still late first. You guys think it wasn't because he only played a couple of games and didn't do good early. So maybe to some teams, but to Portland, there is no way they should have valued him as a first-round pick asset, considering his size and his the limitations that I already just noticed. So the thing with Keon is you cannot just go off a draft position. Once again, in the trade with New Orleans, Trey Murphy, we couldn't get him. He hadn't done much, right? In the NBA. I mean, he's had some good games since then. Yeah. But he probably didn't have 17th pick or whatever he was value at the time of the trade. Yeah. But his teammate, the guy we always talk about, and he was picked 35th, and he absolutely had untouchable value. It was said that New Orleans said he was untouchable, right? And so this doesn't necessarily matter with what happens after the trade or the perception of him being a first round pick. It just mattered what happened after that point. So, or up to that point value wise. And there is not a team in the league, I don't believe, that after that trade, we still had 6 days until the trade deadline, that we could have flipped him for a late first. And that's why I believe that he wasn't worth that first.
And here's the thing. You don't value a guy like a future first if in bringing him in, you're not going to be able to maintain his value as that of a future first. Which is what's going to be the case if they keep him and he doesn't play over the next year or two, because they don't have a rotation spot for him. So if they valued him like a future first and brought him in and aren't going to utilize him, aren't going to use him, and his value is going to tank, I mean, I have a hard time seeing the logic behind that. But that's the thing is he hadn't proven anything over his rookie year, while guys that were taken below him had. So their values are going to raise comparative to his. So I don't buy the fact that he's, was a first round pick value and whatnot. But anyway, go ahead.
The other thing is too, so he says Keon probably already has more value than a 25th or 30th pick. But first of all, no one would have known he would have gotten this opportunity right at the time of the trade. So once again, you're talking about something that happened after the trade that influenced his value, while also saying that he had more value at the time of the trade. They're two separate things. So he can do whatever he wants after the trade. He could be worth 10 first-round picks eventually if he becomes a star, right? But that doesn't mean when we traded for him, he was worth 10 first-round picks, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem here. That's the disconnect, is he's putting up numbers on a crappy team. He's getting an opportunity that he didn't get, most likely wasn't going to get. But, I mean, I hope he's worth a lot. I hope he's right and we can get something.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of time today, so I don't want to waste a bunch of time, because I don't think this conversation really even matters in the long run. I don't think VMs are going to view him as a first-round pick this offseason. And that's the thing, is any GM that does is going to have to, like, have a spot for him. So if it's a team like Portland, they're not going to value him the same as a team like maybe Detroit. So that's the thing, is a first-round pick is a first-round pick to anyone, because they can choose who they take. So that's why he shouldn't be just compared to that in terms of trade value. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, people have takes about it in chat.
I mean, do you want to just talk about that?
Well, let me just say one more thing. So Sirloin66 says, and didn't do anything the first 2 years other than the last game of the season. Keown is starting to look comfortable and starts hitting threes. He can be a problem. Let him develop. Okay. So are you taking minutes from Ant or Dame or Josh Hart next year? Like, where are you playing Keown is my question, I guess. And that's always been the problem. And that's what we've been trying to tell people that disagree with us, is that, yeah.
Shout out to Kyle Wilson for a $2 dono. He says, PDX tanking harder than Madden's reputation. Appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you for donating. Let's jump into Tankathon.
Yeah,
okay. It's not going to be fully updated. Multiple games going on right now, so obviously things are going to change once we have these games go final. Let me pull it up here. Was not ready to go, apparently. All right, there we go. So, let me drag it down. Cool, there we go. Right now, I mean, it's the same picture we've been painting to you over multiple streams. Here's the situation, though, Eric, is OKC might end up tied with Indiana.
That's so bad on their part.
Absolutely. I mean, Portland isn't completely out of the picture in terms of catching OKC. OKC would have to win their last 3 games, and Portland would have to lose their last 3 games. So it's not mathematically impossible to catch them. It just sucks. You know, dude, if we didn't go on that 4-game winning streak, you realize where we'd be right now?
Yep, we'd be tied for 3rd.
With Detroit. We'd have the same exact record as Detroit. So that 4-game winning streak earlier, it kind of, hurts us now, obviously, but everyone hurts us now, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, I knew it was a situation where, I didn't mean to do that. Let me fix that. But I knew it was going to be a situation where at the end of the season, we were going to look back on that 4-game winning streak like, man, it would have been nice to lose some of those games. But here's the thing, is even if you get, and this is what I was thinking about, even if you have the worst record in the league, okay, you're still almost as likely to fall to 5 or lower as you are to get the number 1 overall pick. Well, if you're the worst team, you can't fall below 5, but 1, 2, and 3 have identical odds at number 1 and at the top 4. It's only 52%. So they have a 48% chance at falling 5 or lower. So basically all these teams are like right on the cusp of being top 4 versus 5. Portland on draft lottery night will be right on the cusp of being basically top 4 or 7.
Hey,
obviously lower odds, but it's just not much different. Go ahead.
I gotta go for a minute, and I know you're about to do a lottery sim, and it's going to be a disaster, so I do not want any part of it. I'll be right back.
All right, yeah, go, see ya.
Guarantee Pelicans move up this one.
How dare you? Anyway, let's see if. Well, let me paint the picture a little bit more. So you currently got New Orleans playing right now. Washington won today. They beat the Timberwolves, a shocking win for Washington. So New Orleans' pick is actually 10th now. New Orleans is currently playing the Kings. I expect them to win. That would put their pick in 12th. They would have a better record then no, that would put them in a tie for 10, 11, 12. So New York didn't play today. Washington gained half a game on them. New Orleans can gain a half a game on them. You could have a 3-team tie at 10, 11, 12. In that scenario, the odds would be evened out for top 4 number 1 overall pick. They would be averaged out. And then whichever teams didn't move into the top 4, you'd have some sort of coin flip after the draft lottery to determine the positioning of those picks. So that could honestly be the best case scenario for Portland, is New Orleans being a 3-team tie for 10, 11, 12, because their odds wouldn't be as high as the normal 10th pick would be. But then after the draft lottery, they could still end up with the 10th overall pick. So that might be a good scenario for Portland. Obviously, you could end up with 12th, so it could go bad. But that's the picture there. You got the Kings currently playing New Orleans. So if the Kings win that game, you're talking about Sacramento being at 30 wins. Portland, I don't think we have to worry about Sacramento anymore. Eric, you're back already, and I haven't even simulated it yet. Yeah, you needed to leave because you said if I did it on my own, it was going to be bad luck because apparently you're good luck. So yeah, you got to leave until I do it. I just wanted to finish painting the rest of the picture, which I think I've pretty much already done. So you're not here, right? Yep. I need to hear footsteps away from the mic. Yep, he's not here. All right, time to simulate the lottery. Let's see if he's right. At 14, you got Atlanta. At 13, you got Charlotte. At 12, you got New York. It's chalk so far. At 11, you got Washington. At 10, you got New Orleans. Eric lied. The Blazers get the Pelicans pick at 10, but then they move down 3 spots to 9th. So Eric lied, but also, holy crap. So you got the Kings, Spurs, and I don't even know who else moving up. The Lakers pick, which goes to New Orleans. So OKC moves down 4 spots to 8. Imagine after we screw OKC's tank, they fall to 8 and we fall to 9 and we both lose. That would be tragic. But see, that's the thing is, yeah, this is a wild, wild sim. So 9 and 10. 7, you got Detroit. If New Orleans did move up, it would be the worst case scenario. Yeah, so you got the 4 teams that were top 4 all falling out of the top 4. Okay? At 4, you got Indiana. At 3, you got San Antonio. At 2, you got Sacramento. And at 1, you got the New Orleans Pelicans via the Los Angeles Lakers. That is the lottery sim. I didn't. Oh, I did mute you. Anyway. When did I mute you? Oh, I muted you because I didn't know if you were going to mute yourself. I didn't know what was going on.
New Orleans moves up to 1.
Yeah. New Orleans at 1, Eric. Resimulate, says AJ. You guys want to pretend like this didn't... Okay, let's see if we get better luck with Eric back. Is that what you want to do, Eric? You want to see if we get better luck than this? All right, now we're actually going to lose the Pelicans pick, okay? Just to prove that you are any sort of good luck charm. All right, 14, you got Atlanta. 13, you got Charlotte. 12, no, you got New York. 11, you got Washington. And 10, you got the Pelicans pick to the Blazers. It's the first time I've been sad about that. At 9... you got San Antonio, so no weird stuff with them. At 8, you got the Lakers to New Orleans. Their picks at 8, that's crazy. At 7, you got Portland. We cannot move up, man. That's the rest of the lottery. You got Detroit number 1. There we go. Oh, would you take this on draft lottery night at this point?
Yeah. I mean, it would suck to be 7 to 10, but...
yeah.
I would take it. Yeah.
But I mean, hypothetically, I'd trade 6 and 11 or 12 for 3, so I would take this. It would suck with New Orleans getting 1 and 9. That was supposed to be us, not them, but, it is what it is. Obviously, you would love to get something like... dude, why is New Orleans getting lucky in every single simulation and we can't even move up? Like, New Orleans got the number 1 pick again. They got the 3rd pick.
The first again.
Dude, we have not moved up in like 12 simulations. Tankathon is... okay, there we go. 1 and 10. Yeah, obviously that's best case scenario. Tankathon was hating on us for a second, but... alright, that's the lottery sim. Anyway. So we got a question. Okay, so this came up. Okay, we didn't talk about this, the Josh Hart and the Pelicans pick for Jerami Grant thing on air, have we?
No, because that was from yesterday.
Yeah, so, supposedly, reportedly, Portland offered Detroit at the deadline Josh Hart and the Pelicans' first-round pick for Jerami Grant. Do you believe that's true, Eric?
I don't necessarily believe it's true in that form, but I do believe if you told me we possibly called them while discussing the trade with New Orleans and tried to make that part of the trade. But I don't see. So I guess we could have included another salary. I think it would have had to have been someone else, right? But we couldn't combine Hart with anyone at that time. So why would we use our trade exception fully up? I guess we'd create a $12 million one, but Hart doesn't match Grant's contract in that situation. So,
well, we'd get a 12 million or a TP for Hart.
I just said that, but why would we waste our 20.8 like a couple days after the trade?
Why would we do this trade in the first place? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't think I necessarily believe it. Is because it's a terrible, 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 terrible trade. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been baked into the CJ deal. Because the CJ deal, didn't it take a couple days to get complete anyway?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was official on Monday, but I don't think they cleared their physical. And like Trevin mentions, I think there was some weird thing where we sat Hart out an extra game at the time or something. He didn't make his debut till after the trade deadline or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fishy. Anytime stuff like that reported as fishy, it's just fishy, man, because it could be Detroit sitting there putting that out to raise his trade value, saying, yeah, we said no to Josh Hart and a potential lottery pick, which is a great deal for them. A great deal for them. Now, they should flip Josh Hart for another first, but if you can get a lottery pick and another first for Jerami Grant, you absolutely do it. Here's the thing. If it is true, the Pelicans pick is not going to be enough for Jerami Grant.
Well,
so something's not true, because it's like we got in reports like, oh, yeah, the...
Yes or no.
Well,
this is why it might not be true, or it might be true, is because from Detroit's perspective, they could have been saying, look, this same trade is still a trade that's possible after the season. We want to wait to see if it conveys first, because if it doesn't convey, we wouldn't do the trade, and if it does convey, we would. And that would back up reports that of people suggesting that it's already a done deal if the Pelicans pick does convey.
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing. I don't believe anything that's reported like that. Because why would Detroit say no? I don't understand why Detroit would say no.
Because maybe they were worried the Pelicans pick wouldn't convey.
Yeah, but you're still getting a very similar caliber player and the potential top 10 pick. I think you just take that chance if you're Detroit. Especially, and then you just try and flip Josh Hart and get a decent... Josh Hart, you could get a first-round pick for. So...
Maybe they tried to work up their team in there and there was no takers. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what would your thoughts have been on that sort of trade, though? I mean, let's just reach out, because I've been arguing with people on Twitter about how Jerami Grant isn't a good option. I keep having people come into the comments and say the whole argument is, well, there's no other better options, and whoever we draft with the Pelicans pick isn't going to help us. And I know we've argued this many times, but it seems like we have to argue this over and over and over again.
But
go ahead.
Let me put it this way. The trade deadline is already a disaster, right? Especially if we don't, or having to rely on that New Orleans pick to convey for them, not only to not make the playoffs after we made them a much better team with CJ, but like not move up too. So, and we didn't build any sort of protections if they get the Lakers pick to convert and not their pick, that we still get a lottery pick out of it somehow, right? We did none of that crap. And then but at least we have Josh Hart and a chance to get a lottery pick, right? So if we would have come out with that trade, it was basically CJ for Jerami Grant is what it would have been, right? Man, I don't know how I would have held back from bringing the pitchforks myself to Moda Center or whatever, like, because that would have been like franchise ruining. I mean, it was bad enough that we made it much more difficult to win in the Dame timeline with some of the moves we made and not getting enough assets back for the players we traded. But if we actually made that move and we traded CJ, Norm, and Rocco, and Larry Nance, and basically got back Jerami Grant for next year, I mean, I can't think of a worse possible scenario than if we're to get Jerami Grant, than that being the reason how we got him.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So I'm going to post a poll question. Okay, I'm going to post 2 separate stat lines, and I'm going to ask chat which one they take. Don't worry about who each player is. Okay, both these players played 32 minutes a game. Okay, both of them played for terrible teams. Okay, both of them play okay defense. All right, which stat line would you rather have? Let me know. Both of them play similar positions, kind of. Let me know which stat line you would rather have, and then you can try and guess which player is which. But this is going to go into a point I'm going to make. I wonder how many people are going to know who both these stat lines are. Do you know who both these stat lines are, Eric?
I know who the bottom one is.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious, but yeah. I think I know who the top one is, but is it a Blazer?
I'm not gonna say if it's a Blazer or not.
It's not Hart, because Hart averaged more than that for the Blazers.
Yeah. Reese says, Tori, don't pull a Trev and tell me defense.
You said they were comparable defense.
Comparable defensively. I don't know who you'd find better, Reese, but I know who the consensus would find better, but I think the consensus wouldn't be right. Okay? This is good. I said it's not OG because OG is a high caliber defender, okay? So the top stat line has 67% of the votes, Eric. Okay? Mm-hmm. The top stat line is Trendon Watford when he starts for the Blazers.
Yeah.
The bottom stat line is Jerami Grant this year for the Detroit Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And this is my point. Yeah, I knew some of you would know who it is, especially since we started talking about Jerami Grant. But this is my point. It's you get these players that play for terrible tanking teams and they put up numbers, okay? And then people get fooled by it. Josh Hart for the Blazers, for comparison, 20 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, over 4 assists, 50% from the field, 37% from 3, a true shooting percentage of 62%. Josh Hart's stat line playing for the tanking Trailblazers is better across the board than Jerami Grant playing for the tanking Pistons, okay? And Josh Hart plays better defense.
Harris says, can you send that to Joe Cronin, please?
So here's my point, right? Is like, Jerami Grant putting up numbers for the Detroit Pistons. I don't care if he averaged 23 points per game for the Detroit Pistons. It's a situation where he's not doing it all too efficiently. The dude can't rebound, and his defense hasn't been good in that role. His defense was a little bit better in Denver, but advanced analytics, as you've said, Eric, say that people overrated him a little bit. People thought he was a phenomenal defender in Denver. I don't really think that was the case. It's a situation where you have this dude that goes to Detroit, and all he's been is a scorer. That's all he's been. He doesn't really make plays for others, considering how much he has the ball. He doesn't rebound. He has not been a good defensive player in Detroit. He's been okay. Okay? So, what is he? He's a guy who has the ball in his hands a lot and takes a lot of shots on a bad team. We've seen Josh Hart do that much more effectively than Jerami Grant has. We've seen Trendon Watford, okay, an undrafted rookie, play for a tanking Trailblazers team, and when he starts, he has a similar impact, right? 69%, well, it was like 67 before, but almost 7 out of 10 people would take Trendon Watford's stat line starting for the Blazers, the tanking Trailblazers, over Jerami Grant starting for the tanking Pistons. Okay? So the Grant hype is overblown. Jerami Grant on the Blazers next year would be a guy who he would start, obviously, but his best role, the role in which he would be effective and actually help the team win games, would be a role where he scores probably 12 to 14 points per game, and a role where he commits more of his energy to defense instead of offense, and it would basically be the player he was for Denver, right? But the thing is Denver did not give up a first-round pick for that player, Eric. They gave up a pick that ended up being in the late 20s, and that was for Jerami Grant making, what was he making, $12 million a year at the time?
$7 million.
$7 million a year at the time. Okay, now you're talking about Jerami Grant making $20 million, and he's going to be looking for a max contract extension. He's still the player he was in Denver. He just went to a bad team and put up better numbers, just like Josh Hart went to a bad Trailblazers team and started putting up insane numbers, just like Trendon Watford has, right? That's the impact when you're a decent player and you play on a tanking, terrible team. Okay, I mean, look at Greg Brown the last 4 games.
DJ Vega says, show the three-point shooting that in that poll, and it's a lot different.
If that's what
true shooting percentage factors in everything, so it encompasses
it's just overall efficiency,
all efficiency. So that means that just even though Grant is a much better 3-point shooter, it means he's even less efficient in other areas. So
yeah, Jerami Grant inside the arc shoots 46.5%. Eric, 46.5%. Trendon Watford inside the arc shoots 58%. 58%. As I'll find his percentage inside the arc. Let me find his percentage inside the arc when he starts. When he starts, his percentage... Oh, I'd have to do some math. He's 57 for 99, so pretty much 58%. Okay? So, you're talking about Trendon Watford makes 12% more of his shots inside the arc. Okay? Yeah, he isn't as good of a 3-point shooter, but he's a guy who shot the ball. I mean, he wasn't that great of a 3-point shooter in college. But you're telling me that's the only area of an advantage this guy you'd trade a lottery pick for has over a guy who was undrafted last year? And this is my point.
The same position.
Yeah, and this is my point with this, is people say you gotta trade the Pelicans pick for Jerami Grant if you can't find a better deal, because whoever you draft with the Pelicans pick isn't going to help you, or, Jerami Grant hasn't helped the Pistons win, okay? They've been just as good of a team without him as they have been with them, okay? And if you say you have to trade a lottery pick because that player won't be able to help you anywhere near as much as Jerami Grant will be able to help you, then why is an undrafted player from this previous draft, when he starts and is put in a similar situation to Jerami Grant, how does he put up a similar stat line that if you were blindfolded, you probably take that guy. You probably take Trendon Watford. Okay? Now, we haven't even gotten into the fact that Jerami Grant is looking for a max contract, and we haven't gotten into the fact that Jerami Grant doesn't want to be anything but a high-usage player. You're telling me this dude, in his final year of his contract, is going to want to go have a lesser role, lose millions of dollars, and not be the guy that he is in Detroit when he left Denver for Detroit without Detroit even offering him any extra money or years or anything. He left the same contract on the table in Denver, coming off of Western Conference Finals, to go to Detroit and be the man, and be the main scorer. Okay? And you're telling me that the solution for the Blazers to bring him back and put him back in the role that he didn't want, that he left a winning team for? And you think he's going to embrace that when he's also probably losing millions of dollars on his contract? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Anyway. And
also, Watford is, I don't think, a single year of his contract for the next 3 years after this one. I think the most it gets up to is like $1.9 million in the 4th year. So
yeah,
we're talking way less of the cost. And once again, this is an undrafted rookie. So why, if we have a late lottery pick, why could that player not theoretically be better than Trenton Watford, a lot better than Trenton Watford, right? Because you'd think he'd be more talented. So
yeah, you would think. And here's the thing: is if you had Jerami Grant, who is willing to embrace his role, and you had him on the same contract as Trenton Watford, and you could just have him for free, yeah, I'd start Jerami Grant over Trenton Watford. My point isn't that Trenton Watford is better than Jerami Grant. My point is all the narratives that people use to explain why the Blazers have to trade for Jerami Grant are very flimsy. And when you take a deeper look at things and when you explore the nuance of, Jerami Grant and what role he wants and what money he wants, and then you compare and then you consider the fact that he's playing in freaking Detroit, playing for a terrible team, putting up numbers, and numbers that aren't even that good. It's not like he's scoring super efficiently. It's not like he's creating for others. It's not like he's rebounding the freaking ball. He's a terrible rebounder. It's not like he's playing any defense. When you think about all that, all the narratives that people say that, oh, we have to give up the 11th pick in the draft for him because that player isn't going to help is just bonkers to me. Because here's what it comes down to. The Phoenix Suns are the best team in the league because they have players that embrace their role and play their role to the best of their ability. You do not want to bring in another player, Eric, another player who doesn't embrace his role and play it to the best of his ability and doesn't give it his all to playing that specific role correctly. Okay? Phoenix, if you look at them on paper, they got Devin Booker, they got Chris Paul. Outside of that, DeAndre Ayton isn't an all-star. They got a bunch of role players next to Chris Paul and Devin Booker. But their role players are so freaking good that they are a well-oiled machine that is phenomenal on both sides of the court. And that's why they are a 60-win team. That's why they are such a good freaking team. Okay, and I do not want to go back down the route of trading for players that come in here and don't embrace their role, don't give it their all defensively, which Jerami Grant has not the past couple of years. It's just basically running back the same mistakes we just made with Robert Covington and with Norman Powell. So I think the conclusion is pretty obvious that trading the Pelicans pick for Jerami Grant would be a bad move. Absolutely. But people just know the name Jerami Grant and see, oh, he's a 19-point per game scorer. And they remember that, oh, he has a good defensive reputation. And they think he's a great defender who would come in here and be a 20-point per game scorer, a 19-point per game scorer. And just adding that to the lineup just makes him so much better. But that's surface level stuff, man. That's not looking at any of the things that actually matter. And I learned from Robert Covington and Norman Powell, and I do not want this franchise to make the same freaking mistakes. Anyway, go ahead. My rant is done.
So Andy Martin says the report from Stein was Hart plus Winslow plus draft compensation. Maybe they only offered seconds, not the Pels pick. That is incorrect, and I know that for a fact because you can't combine Hart's contract with anyone else, including Winslow, from a different trade at that time. So that couldn't even have happened. And the report we're talking about specifically said Hart and the New Orleans pick. So, but that other pick isn't even possible. So if Stein reported it that way, he is wrong, and he's just making stuff up. But we can't combine any salary. It doesn't matter who the other player is. We could not have combined him in that deal with Hart. So nothing else makes sense in terms of combining salary.
Yep.
And then, so DJ Vega says that Grant wouldn't take the kind of shots he's taking in Detroit with us. He would take better shots or whatever. So I asked him how he knows that. Because to me, it seems like Grant is the type that would come in here and still take those kind of shots, right? Mm-hmm. And so he says that's underestimating Chauncey's coaching. He would still take those shots sometimes, but would take them less because the ball would be in Ants and Dame's hands. So why would we want a player that we have to hope fits in like that? That's what I don't get. Like, that's the wrong fit. If you're already, before we've even made the trade, saying, well, hopefully he'll just come in and take the shots that he took in Denver, right? Not the shots that he's taken in Detroit, or not try to get the ball in his hands and not try to do too much and all that stuff. And, hopefully Chauncey's coaching can coach that out of him and he can become a good role player again instead of the player he's been the last 2 years, right? those are the kind of guys we don't want. Get those people out of here. And those are
That's
the
what
kind
we
of
said
guys
about Norm and Rocco and
that's exactly the type of player that Chauncey hated the first half of this season and purposely asked Joe Cronin to get rid of, and he did. So now we're not going to go back to getting those type of guys in. We're going to get guys who actually have proven to do the things Chauncey wants or are young enough to still be molded into that character. But we shouldn't be looking at players that we'd have to come in. Chauncey would have to fix them, or Dame would have to, Dame's such a great leader, maybe he can change their attitude or whatever. Like, if you get those guys for cheap, fine. Like, I'm all for that. If you take a flyer on someone, whether it's free agency or you get them into the trade exception without having to give up much compensation for them, okay, I see your point. But to give up a lottery pick for a guy that you're asking, or without even coming in, his role has to change. You're not sure how he would respond to that. You're not sure if he would fit well with the coaching system on the team. You're not sure if the type of play style he likes to play fits in well with our current roster. And he's not a good defender. I don't care what anyone says. He's not a good defender. Like, people are fooled by because he got in LeBron's face in the.
I have metrics for that Reese sent me. Shout out to Reese.
So you can post those, but like all those things factor
I'll
in.
Bring them up on screen
to be like, I mean, this guy is not the answer. Like I said, if you could get him for relatively cheap, some second round picks, or you trade back and you get like a late first or something, and you get him, then like I can see your point. But to give up a lottery pick that potentially could be better, like as soon as year 2 or sooner, maybe in some cases, like this is not like 20 years ago where every draft pick takes 3 years to develop and everyone's a project and we have to wait for people to develop. Like, people are going to come in ready to play, and a lot of players contribute in year 1 right off the bat.
Yep. Let me bring this graphic up. This is Jerami Grant's defensive metrics. The most recent season is on bottom. Paint him as a very across the board, like an average-ish, maybe slightly below average defender. On ball defense, those are his grades. He's worse on the ball than he is off the ball. Getting through screens, LeBron is a good defensive metric that a lot of teams use. So those are his defensive metrics if you care about that stuff. Now, defensive metrics can be noisy, so obviously you don't put all your stock in defensive metrics. That's why you got to watch games and you got to see for yourself. They're to complement the eye test. But, I mean, if you go and look at Detroit fans, and you can go to a Detroit forum and pretty easily figure out who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. The people that you can tell know what they're talking about, they don't think he's been a good defender for them.
Mm-hmm. I just want everyone to look at that 2019-2020 Denver season, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about, what do we need out of our forwards, Tori? Do we need a good off-ball defender like Robert Covington? How did that work out for us?
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
How did Robert Covington, being a good off-ball defender in our situation where we need our power forward, or both forward spots to be good on-ball defenders, how did that work out for us? I'm pretty sure the 2 years we've had him, we were had two of the worst defenses in history, right? So look right there. Even on Denver, Jerami Grant, the year everyone thought he was like this amazing player, he had an F grade on-ball defense. An F grade. Like, that is terrible. Like, I mean, I don't understand how anyone can look at this or look at Jerami Grant and think he is the answer defensively, or that helps us on that end. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It does not match how he really is on the floor. And as Sherwin points out in chat, you know who had an A grade on-ball defense this year?
Who?
Nasir Little, right? And we have him on our team. We do not need to make trades like that and take away time from players who actually can contribute in areas that we need them to.
Yeah.
Give up a lottery pick to do it.
Yeah. Now the problem with Nas is he struggled mightily off the ball, so obviously has to make some. But I trust him improving that more than Jerami Grant just years into his career figuring out how to defend the ball better.
Yeah.
So, he's just not the answer, man. Like, I don't know how much more evidence of him not being the answer we have to provide to people. It's just as people see a name and, it's like people will sit here and say we should trade the Pelicans pick because Jerami Grant's averaging almost 20 points per game and he's a good defensive player. Okay, but then when we bring him into Portland after trading the Pelicans pick for him, okay, yeah, well, we're just going to need him to be a 12 points per game scorer and a help side defender. You don't give up value for a guy based on what he's doing on a bad team to bring him into a good team and have him do much less. Okay, the thing is on a good team, he's not the player he is in Detroit. So it's like people advocate for trading for Jerami Grant, a lottery pick for Jerami Grant, based on what he's doing right now, and then they advocate for it based on, oh, well, he's not going to play like that. He's going to be more of a role player. You don't trade a lottery pick for a role player, okay? The last time we traded picks for a role player, we traded 2 mid-first round picks for Robert Covington. We could have had Sadiq Bey. What did we get for Robert Covington plus Norman Powell? Keon Johnson. And that's basically it. So you don't...
Oh, we got Eric Bledsoe, man. Don't forget that.
You don't make these same mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. I'm praying that Cronin learned from his predecessor's mistakes. Because I do not want to go down this road with players that don't want to play their role. That is not the way that you win a championship. That is not the way you're ever going to give Damian Lillard a chance to win a championship, is bringing in a guy who, yeah, we're going to make him into a role player. We're going to overpay for a role player and then just pray that he plays his role and isn't unhappy. And then we're going to hope that some stupid team isn't going to give him a max contract based on what he did in Detroit. Like, that just sounds like such a nightmare to me, dude. Like, that's so gross. And it's just like wanting Jerami Grant is just the easy thing for a lot of people. Oh, big name. Look, 19 points per game, and people think he plays defense, so yeah, we should get him. That's the easy thing to want in my mind, but I don't know. Me and you pay too much attention, I guess. I don't know. It's not.
But, Tori, you praised the Rocco trade. You were wrong then. Maybe you're wrong now.
I was wrong then. The thing is I learned. Imagine that. Well, imagine admitting you were wrong about a trade and then learning from it. And part of that was Rocco wasn't willing to embrace his role. Like, he cared too much about getting his steals and getting his blocks. It was obvious when he was on the court, okay? And he didn't buy into doing the little things. He was individually focused, right? And I didn't expect that from him, okay? That's why if I knew that at the time, I wouldn't have been down with the trade. And that's why I'm not down with the Grant trade. So...
And then, so Thomas Ramsey brings up TJ Warren, Otto Porter. Someone else mentioned Kyle Anderson. These are all free agents that we could probably get with a full mid-level exception that we have this year in free agency. And I'd rather have all of those guys than give up any kind of assets to get Grant.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because at least we're not giving something up. And then...
I'd rather bring back Rocco for the MLE than trade for Grant, dude.
I would too, yeah. And for the record, I was kind of iffy on the Rocco trade. I mean, I was happy we made a move and got a player the caliber of Robert Covington, but I was not happy about giving up 2 first-round picks.
It's like everybody that I've seen want Grant for years were like, oh yeah, you gotta trade for Robert Covington. Stop drafting player that won't help Dame in his timeline. You gotta trade the picks and get a proven 3-and-D forward. Because Aminu and Harkless can't shoot well enough. They can defend, but they can't shoot well enough. So you gotta go out and get a proven 3-and-D forward. And then they liked the Rocco trade because we finally did what they wanted. We finally traded picks for Robert Covington. And then this season, before the trade deadline, they acted like they hated the Rocco trade. Because... it was, in hindsight, not a good trade, right? So then all of a sudden they hated it. Yeah. So then all of a sudden they hated it, okay? And now it's like they want to do the same thing over again. And it makes no sense.
And those are the same people who will say, like, I think someone else brought this up in chat earlier too, so shout out to whoever said this. But in 2017, they're the same people who are like, why didn't we draft Bam Adebayo or Donovan Mitchell? You know, like those were mid-teens picks, you know, but
Yeah.
back it's just like hindsight to whatever suits their argument.
Exactly. So
Yeah, Thomas said that. Thank you, man.
anyway,
But so Wuda Ruler keeps asking who we'd trade the first round pick then if we didn't want Grant. So I mean, I know you've said you'd trade for OG if you
could, but I mean, it's very unlikely. So you draft if you use it, or you can trade it down and get multiple assets.
Yeah, I'm not trading unless a player of the level of OG comes available, and I'm keeping it, and I'm happy with that. I don't think that's like a burden or like some sort of misstep or whatever. If we draft a player there, you draft whatever player has the highest upside there, and if you hit on both of your picks, you are much better than any trade short of getting like Giannis or LeBron could ever set you up for being in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Bam Adebayo and Donovan Mitchell, the 2017 draft that everybody wants to talk about, were drafted in that range. So Mikal Bridges was drafted 10th overall 4 years ago. Right? It would be awesome to have him on our... It would be awesome to have Cam Johnson, who was the 11th pick, who people thought was a reach, including us, in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk a lot about what we want to do other than Jerami Grant, but I figured it was good to put just as much of a well-thought-out and logic-based and facts-based case against Jerami Grant, because people still want him, and I don't know why. So, hopefully, you know, I'm going to clip this. I might upload it as a video on the main channel, just this Jerami Grant part, just to spam at people whenever they say they want him. Just watch this. I'm not about to keep wasting all my breath and my Twitter characters that I don't have enough of arguing on Twitter.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I still don't think the problem was the Larry Nance trade itself. I think it's the fact that we, you know, had an injured Dame and our roster went to crap. And I think, and then getting nothing for Nance in a trade, you know, like that's the problem. Just like we got nothing for Norm and nothing for Rocco. Like that's the issue, is that we got nothing in return for those guys. But if we would have gotten at least a first or something out of those three players, like at least we'd have something there to warrant doing it again on another player, right? But this is what's going to happen. We're going to trade a first for him. That first is going to end up being a star, and then everyone's going to be like, see, we shouldn't. Why didn't we trade? Why didn't we just keep the pick or whatever? And it's all these people who were clowning us for saying we wouldn't trade for Jerami Grant are all going to be saying the other thing later. And that's how it works in, you know, the social media world or whatever, which is fine. But like whatever outcome happens will be so unless we win a championship with Jerami Grant, it's going to be like, it'll be like, we shouldn't have done that, even though those same people right now are saying anyone who thinks we shouldn't trade for an Olympian and almost all-star fringe caliber player is an idiot or whatever. Like, those people will all be saying the opposite someday. And I still don't think Nance is a bad player. I think he would have fit in really well on a good team. Just unfortunately, we were not a good team this year, so his skills were wasted on this team, and then he got hurt. So yeah. Yep.
Anyway, we're gonna have to run. San Antonio beat Denver. That game has gone final. New Orleans is currently up 78-69 over the Kings with 5:56 left in the third, so still a chance for the Kings to come back in that. Utah's up 117-113 with 2 minutes left in OT.
Big surprise.
What's up?
Guess what happened again in this game?
What happened?
Utah was up in the fourth quarter and had another meltdown, and it went to overtime.
Hey, you took the Jazz as 6-point favorites. They could still cover.
They were up 7 like the whole fourth quarter, and there was like 3 minutes left, still up 7, and they somehow went to overtime. Yeah, still could cover.
They are the chokers this year, man. So Thursday,
and Quinn Snyder even went on earlier today and said, like, that the media needs to stop with this narrative that they're not a good fourth quarter team.
But that's a facts-based argument. You look at their record, they would be like the number one team in the West by 5 games if the game was decided after 3 quarters. Yeah. They have lost so many games in the fourth quarter, and it's facts. It's not a narrative.
Well, he also tried to say that it's not a fact that that Mitchell doesn't pass to Gobert.
That's also something that can be proven.
Yeah, it's like a factual thing. Like you can go back and keep track of that, right?
Yeah, I didn't even hear any of it. I just saw that he went around about that, and I already knew it was going to be just some ridiculousness like that. That's exactly what I expected it to be. But I don't know how you argue facts-based statements. You can prove those statements, so I don't get it. Anyway, anything else you want to say for this stream, Eric?
No, thank everyone for watching. XC depth. So we've talked about this a lot on other streams, but I would just say if someone's making over 25 million, it's a long shot. But that's my opinion. I think Tori thinks a little differently because we can do some things salary-wise, but I just think it's a tough get a guy like Gobert who's making 38 million.
Yeah. Next post-game show, we might have a little bit more time. I think it's a little bit later game. I'm not... no, it's 5 p.m. So... But we'll have a ton of time to discuss these possibilities, so definitely keep that question in the back pocket. I know you asked it a couple times through the stream, but...
If you're on the stream Thursday afternoon, too, let us know.
Yeah, we have 2 streams coming up on Thursday, so should have time to get around to that sort of question, man. Definitely want to answer everything, but obviously we can't. But we got 2 streams on Thursday. Blazers Uprise Live. We'll go over 12 games for picks against the spread today. We'll see the fallout from that, see what changes in the standings. And then we'll have a post-game stream after the Blazers play the Pelicans. That's a game where I don't really care if the Blazers win or lose. It'd be maybe a good thing if they win, because the Spurs have been able to win some games. It would be nice to give the Spurs home court advantage in that 9-10 playing game. I just don't know the tiebreaker scenario. So right now you got New Orleans only up 6 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter against the Kings. If they lose, they are tied with the Spurs. So rooting against the Pelicans. Anyway, that's a wrap for the stream.
And Jazz are up 6.
Jazz are up 6. Hopefully they cover for you. Actually, it was an island for you, so I guess it's okay if they cover for you. Because I think somebody doubled down on the Grizzlies, and it wasn't me. I doubled down on the
Grizzlies, but all 7 of you.
Yeah, so, you can have that win. Or it can be a push, and then you can be half a game behind, it can just make things messy. That would be the Jazz thing, would be to push that game when you double down on it and nobody else did, so it makes things messy. Anyway, we'll catch you guys again on Thursday. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Follow us on Twitter, links in description. Subscribe to that second channel. We'll be going live 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 2 days from now on Thursday. That's Blazers Uprise Live. We're 4 away from 1,900. We got over 6,000 on this channel, so I know over 2/3 of our subs here on the main channel aren't subscribed to the second channel, so they need to go subscribe to the second channel. Anyway, that's all the plugs. We're out of here. We'll catch you a couple days from now. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.